Stampers, welcome to the craft room. Today I want to show you how to create this beautiful background. I'm calling this technique the direct to paper, dry embossed, sanded technique. So let's get started. We're going to begin with a piece of Naturals Ivory cardstock, and this piece or this layer is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. Then we're going to take our River Rock Classic Stampin' Pad and we're just going to do the direct to paper technique. So we're just going to go ahead and you can go back and forth, you can go both ways, and we're just trying to layer a whole bunch of ink. I'm even going in a circular motion. So just trying to get a really nice layer of ink on this piece of cardstock. The next thing we're going to do is take our vintage wallpaper embossing folder, and this is the raised side, this is the deboss side. So we're going to put this down on the raised side, or the smaller side as you can see, and we're going to close that up, and then I'm just going to run this through the Big Shot. Okay, and we're just going to take that out. The next thing we're going to do is take our sanding blocks. Mine are pretty worn, so I may need to use both of them. And we're going to sand all of this raised area. And I like to sand in a bit of a circular motion. You can do back and forth. What we're trying to do is sand off this top layer of ink that we've applied so that the raised areas have the cardstock original color shining through, and it gives it that shabby chic look. So let's keep sanding. Okay, and you can see that I've taken off quite a bit of cardstock, so I'm going to go ahead and recycle these little scraps. I'll be right back. Okay, next we are going to take a piece of Bravo Burgundy cardstock. This piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and we're going to adhere this layer right on top of that layer, and I'm going to do that using my Tombow Mono Multi Glue. And place that down. The next thing we're going to do is create the ribbon, and to do this we're going to use our organza ribbon. I love this white organza ribbon because it allows me to make ribbon of any color. We're going to take a 15-inch, about a 15-inch piece of this ribbon, and then we're going to need our Bravo Burgundy Classic stamp pad and a Bravo Burgundy sponge. And you've probably seen me do this before if you've watched my videos. If not, hopefully this will be a fun new technique for you. You will get inky fingers. You want to hold the ribbon against the ink pad with your sponge, and you want to pull as you're holding it down. And what that's doing is placing ink right onto that ribbon. And I do this quite a few times because I want to make sure I get really good coverage, and also want to make sure I get that end. And then we're going to turn that ribbon over so that we're getting both sides all inked up. And again, doing this, I don't know, 3, 4, or maybe even 5 times. I went ahead and created another one of these that hopefully is already dry. So we're going to use that on this project. Now what we're going to do is tie this ribbon around this layer, and we're going to knot it. And my fingers were a little bit wet when I did this, so I've gotten some ink on my card, but that's okay. Hopefully the ribbon will cover that. And then we're just going to take our ribbon scissors and snip off the edges. Make sure you let your fingers dry before you start tying your ribbon. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, let's actually go ahead and put this on the card base. So this is a piece of Naturals Ivory cardstock. It's 5 1/2 by 11. I just scored it and folded it in half. And again, I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi Glue to adhere this layer to that card base. So we're going to set that aside for a moment, and I'm going to grab a scrap piece of this Naturals Ivory cardstock. I'm also going to grab this stamp from the Notably Ornate stamp set and my Bravo Burgundy marker, and we're just going to go ahead and ink up this border here with our marker, and also this little flower here. And then we're going to huff on it and stamp that down. And then we're going to take our extra large oval punch and just punch that out. I'm going to take the thank you stamp from the Short and Sweet stamp set, and also, once again, my Bravo Burgundy ink pad. Just ink that up and stamp it a little bit toward the upper part of that punch. Next thing I'm going to do is take this stamp, also from the Notably Ornate stamp set, and my River Rock ink. And I'm just going to ink up kind of some of the corners here. And I'm going to stamp down, trying not to get the lines, but just kind of stamp down onto this punch, just to give this a little added interest and color. Next, we're going to take our decorative label punch, extra large, and a scrap piece of Bravo Burgundy cardstock, and just punch out one of those. And we're going to use some Tombow Mono multi-glue to just adhere this. So I want to leave a little bit of a border on the top. And the last thing I'm going to add here is just a tiny one of these little basic pearl jewels. There we go. I'm also going to use a couple of dimensionals on here. So let's grab a couple of dimensionals. And we're going to take our card and we're going to fit this kind of right down in there. So that looks great. So we're just going to adhere that there. If you want, you could always put a glue dot underneath your ribbon. I'm going to leave it. I think it's fine. The next thing we're going to do is create this tiny little tag here. So we are going to take this Thanks So Much stamp from the Tiny Tags stamp set. Going to take our little scrap piece of paper again and our Bravo Burgundy marker, and we're just going to ink up where it says so much. I'm just going to stamp that down. There we go. Nice. And now we're just going to take our little jewelry tag punch and punch that little so much out. There we go. And we're going to go back to using this stamp. Just going to ink up a little bit with some River Rock, maybe up here. And then I'm just going to place this little tag right on there and give it a nice press and come up. And that way it gives it just a little bit of texture. And we're going to use our Bravo Burgundy sponge, which is probably plenty inked up by now, just to sponge that little tag just a little bit. Next, we're going to take our little piercing pad, and I'm actually just going to use a little pin here and just going to make a little hole and kind of spin that around to make the hole large enough. You can also use your paper piercing tool. I find that this is really delicate, the end of that tag, so I like to use a little pin. And then what I use, you can use crochet thread if you want. I actually took these little mini vintage tags to get a piece of string. Again, you can use crochet thread or a piece of hemp twine. I just like how pretty and shiny this little cord is. So I'm just going to snip that. And we'll reserve the little tag because we'll use it later for something else. And I'm just going to run this little string through this hole. And I'm just going to take these two ends and make a little circle and bring it through. And then I'm just going to snip off those little ends. The last thing we're going to do is add a little piece of dimensional to this little tag. So let's just grab a half a dimensional, and I'm just going to put that on this little tag, and this is where we get to cover up any boo-boos we might have made earlier. So wherever you want to put your tag, if you want to put it here so that it covers up that little mistake, that's great, and it will just hang there. And there you have it, a really pretty card using this direct-to-paper, dry emboss sanded technique. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Card Play, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon here in the craft room.